Oh, wait. Hold on. I think I'm gonna vomit. No, never mind. It passed.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Theje's catalog, where I play through my Steam games list in alphabetical order. Sometimes. What I'm reviewing this time is Dungeon Siege 3. Those well engrossed in the series will balk at the very mention of Dungeon Siege 3 due to a giant departure from many established norms for this series. The development was handed off to Obsidian Games, thus the core gameplay was dramatically changed to better suit a potentially wider audience of RPG lovers. After the success of Neverwinter Nights 2, heck, why not? I'll begin the review with this story. If I hear the name Jane Cassandra one more time, I'm going to lose it. The old mentor at the beginning mentions her about 80 times through dialogue and cutscenes. And it's okay, I've got it now. She's the big bad bitch and the point of the game is to kill her. Rightio, let's do it. Luckily, I got a reprieve from this while trekking through the Treasures of the Sun DLC. The gameplay in Dungeon Siege 3 is your typical action RPG fare, except this time it's fully compatible with your Xbox One controller, which was my preferred method of input. Of the 4 playable characters, I picked the gun-toting, corset-rocking, high-heel sporting Katarina. The auto-aim mechanic for her main attacks exhibits a fair amount of flaws, like preferring loot caches instead of enemies, but for the most part it won't let you down in the heat of the moment. A small gripe I have about the dodging is that you have to run a bit before your attack, otherwise you'll inadvertently trigger another dodge. It's a baffling glitch, but with patience and muscle memory, it's easy to get around. The camera is also rather annoying, leaving you vulnerable at times to enemies that are behind you, but instances where adversaries were trying to flank were few. Fortunately, the camera never got me lost, since a pathway to the next objective was always available at the press of a button in the form of floating, gilded balls. Never before in my life have I followed so many floating balls.
Floating balls.
Also, each weapon or stance has its own set of special moves, and it's a pain to switch to an undesirable tool just to use a certain spell in combat. I wish I could configure it as I please. At least save points occur very frequently, so recording progress at a moment's notice will never be an issue, but be warned that if you save outside of town, you're liable to be immediately attacked as soon as you resume a log.
I hate pinching off a good log.
The looting system in Dungeon Siege 3 is admittedly not perfect, but your frustration can be minimized if you keep up with it. You can either sell your extra gear at markets or trash it yourself, for which you gain a small amount of gold and, on chance, an augment for your current weapon. Gold is easy to come by, but also easy to spend, especially if you are enchanting the arsenals of both your personal toon and your cohorts. The graphics here are very nice. Textures are crisp and the color palette is mostly diverse and very saturated. The picture is silky smooth with VSync turned on, and although it does stutter about 15% of the time, it's forgivable. Combat animations don't appear too clunky, but Katarina's movements look like they were motion animated by a woman who was not as well endowed.
Or a dude.
When engaged in dialogue, however, body language is kept to an extreme minimum. For the bottom line, nothing feels especially awesome or extra fun about Dungeon Siege 3. What it offers over other games in the genre is that it's super easy to play and you can use a controller to play it. If you pick it up, what you're in for is a mindless experience with zero exploration as you fly straight from side quest to side quest with little grinding. Gamers who want nothing more than to drift through an involved story with deep lore without extra cool mechanics will feel right at home here. In conclusion, I had fun playing Dungeon Siege 3. Granted, it was my first Dungeon Siege game, I generally enjoyed booting it up and having progression be guaranteed while I thoughtlessly wandered straight from objective to objective, effortlessly killing everything in my path while getting increasingly stronger with every level and whatever loot I found. Combat wasn't exactly immune to frustration, but for the most part it wasn't too tedious. Thankfully, the aesthetics of each stage varied widely and had their own distinct atmosphere. To be honest though, I don't think I'll bother with a second playthrough. If anything, I'd try a different character out of curiosity, but I probably would only get a few hours in before calling it quits for good. The 20 hours spent on both the game and its expansion is definitely satisfying for at least one trip through though. If it's on sale and you need something different than Diablo for a few days and you've never played Dungeon Siege 2, I would totally recommend it. This has been a review of Dungeon Siege 3 here on Theje's catalog. Go ahead and thumbs me up, guess what game I'll be playing next, and share and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and you guys, have a good night.
Still better dead physics than dead or alive.